Hi, this is Lisa 3, and the retarded drug addicts have threatened to break in, and they're pretending that they're cops, and they're pretending there's a bust, and I heard of them on the internet with a retarded person, and a while ago I realized, gee, if America is that dumb to believe a bunch of retarded maggot gamblers, there's no hope for them. So definitely there's a plot to break in, and these idiots have nothing to do with cops. They're all mental patients, and the mental patients include black Nazis and whites who don't get down, and threatening with things like guns and guns. They're trying to induct me into the Bloods and into also a separate movement, and it involves trying to incite white people and, quote, punishing them. So you've got losers right here, and they thought they'd break and razor an area in the closet. Funny, no wonder that many times, and I realized leaves that. Here's the relationship with the footage apparently, and guess who? So the filming on, and if they British, it's to know. Creeps that thought he'd try to force me to hide guns for him. He's a black, slight red hair, and he's sort of like young 30s. Just got back from, I think, California. Threatening things. They have parts fetishes, and a Hispanic male in a wheelchair with tattoos. He's a homely little old man with a high voice and a big. He was talking satanic ceremonies at 106 Washington 98133. So maybe I'll just call, and what if that I heard a noise, and tell them they're talking on the internet pretending to be police. They're not. They're all retarded people. They're at Aurora DSC. They have nothing to do with cops, and who believes them is also, you have to be retarded to believe them. You'd have to be retarded. As anyway. So you shouldn't mind when Armageddon kind of big in place, like it's foretold. That's one of the happens during Armageddon. Plus, there will be a lot of these plagues. They are connecting with poisoning people's water, food, but they're connecting with plagues. Some of them, they scrupulous morons that work in plagues, in lab. People in this building, he was about 80, and they should have been put away until long ago, but America fostered them instead. Hello, building. Zeta's dead, but I've seen Bloods all over Seattle. Somebody's talking about it now, and they connect. Gone up as far as 183rd and about Europe, because the window open. By the way, everybody here is a prostitute or a bum. I mean, they're bums or whores or bums, either way. The males are bum whores. They're all drug addicts and drunks and retardos in this. one of the bums said, "Oh yes, we're going to be investigated now." Well, I would think anyway. And so, even though I told the city, talking about guns, shooting people, I don't see any arrests. I don't see anything happening to these morons. And every time they're lately, these a lot of some kind of so crazy incidents you've heard. About a blob. If they sound, they talk. They use a lot of quote. One of them earlier was chanting something about, and then he paired. He was, you know, management, and they thought it would be fun to torment me with the open mic where they could hear me, and also there is a involved in this. And one of the people working downstairs in the event that anything endorsed what is happening, and it sounds like the small kind of with wavy, either white or white with other. How sort of a pleasant little, looks like a pleasant little, slight plump. One of the bums is playing patient threat with these. They are bums, and they smell. Sometimes they have such smelly freaks in the. You could one to two of them smell like actual garbage dump. Editor's room, and one of them has a huge ad. A couple of them do actually that themselves, and one of their names is Stephanie. Problem, and she's a prostitute, and she about torturing me and threatening me, and she likes to even mate with a black guy with bulging eyes. Photos, including the rapists, are black Nazis, and a couple of them have. They're no more cops than any damn. Excuse me. On and on, yapping. I can hear him. He's saying things like blah blah blah, calorie, or a fat white man. Place apartments, and Kathy Cox and William Smith, who used to live there, and I think it might have been a kidnapping destination for what are they? They're low-income townhouses. Welfare people, like Kathy Cox's daughter, who likes to pretend that she's government. Yes, this bum talking about guns, and apparently they thought they'd force me to hide. They were talking about, and they were talking in a serious matter. I've heard the shooting at windows for probably a year now. Usually it's such as, well, we should do blank. No, right. Motion activation when shower, and they'll be behind the shower bragging that they're master whatever staff is working tomorrow, and that 10507 Washington 9833, and possibly dragging me over to, and then there's an Arcos and other morons pretending to be police. U District pretending to be police, riding the buses, and they're all returning. End up on the news because they just won't stop due to the shooting, the states, just like these morons here at 10507 Aurora Avenue, North Seattle, Washington 133. They're out of hand. Black Nazis are hugely dangerous as a separatist movement, as I keep saying. They're absolutely dangerous individuals. These people are repulsive. Nobody really wants them in life. Repulsive people. I mean, would you want would you want people who had friends that smell like garbage dumps? So basically, bums that, well, they're going to end up pushing shopping carts during Armageddon because, oh, and they're complaining because I told about another place that they had as a kid, retarded daughter, Chris, in their car. I was like, I think he could be here. To try to break through the closet from underneath the floor. They have nothing to do with anything they're talking about. Oh, yeah, I'm earlier, but I think one just talked about an alleged bill. And happening in last week, one of the black transgender at Elizabeth Gregory, her name was Kalia, and she was telling me I owed $4 million as she walked for someone who might not even be on, a couple $100 in what. So people of playing the old Hispanic man. He's mentioned another mafia. Starts with an L, and then a C. Made human slavery threats. They all have. One of the other red-haired woman, and she's playing and Leo 9. And she dyed her hair red, like an ugly fat Madame Aurora, and she, I've seen her hair curled lately in these sort of sausage rolls, like a man striding Aurora confidently, as if she was suddenly, but she looks like John White. So to complete the Wayne Gacy clown appearance. She's a fat prostitute. See how she could have been a prostitute without crushing her clientele, but apparently she's an broken. I think they would have had scaffolds in order to mount. From what I hear, she's got about months to live because her liver's about to fall out on the floor. Probably look. And she was talking in code with the friend, and the other word I mentioned. Oh, she's was a razoring threat, a hook whore. I remember that game show Old Dead Whore, and it was played, I think, on Saturday Night Live, Mad TV, I think, 5. These women here did, some of them at the game show. That's very possible here, and really that's to my advantage because, obviously they're stinking, evil morons. So it's actually nothing to be sad, months to live. She's, if they're in the Bloods or Zetas, it's a guarantee they're in on child molesting rings, They're in on child murderer, kidnappings. It's guaranteed. There's a horror of threats. Hopefully some Crips will find you. I'm very friendly. Focus on you, I'm sharp, ugly. And by the way, they're all saying that we'll be talking about body shop. He's not talking cars. He's not talking about a business called the Body Shop. He's talking about where they cut people and think they're gonna be resurrected. It's basically the same sort of stuff as Ed Gaines. They're pretty much Ed Gaines types. All of them are Ed Gaines types, and they've bragged that they've cut up people at the market. Maybe someone's missing out there that they cut up. They also brag about cannibalism and animal cruelty and eating that right now. By the way, and a butcher shop at the market. I moved into that location. They caused me quite a bit of trouble, and a butcher shop where they endorse. Oh, I hadn't put that butcher shop on my page, but I'd put, and this page think that butcher, because they like to apparently slaughter hapless eggs, and I think they're next. There's Rhea, whose cafe, she looks like an old, about 5'8". She lives in a little, and she likes to impress that are linking to the building that work for the Pikes Development Authority, and their bloods to me as well before they scratch glass, by sprinkling my up and sprinkling me when I was at home. And one of the bastards in the background is chanting, "You're not going to have me do anything, moron, except I will be calling the police and the FBI on you and he as much trouble as give out all information to anyone." About ugly bitch. LaSalle are on extortion, forced, rape, murder, satanic worship, and on. And by the way, they're constantly threatening me with, quote, Harbor View. Of course, that doesn't evoke any presentation regarding Harbor View, meditation, and their enemies and their enemies' parts. Are there any victims that these people have or have it or something because they have a buddy at Harbor? These are nutcases, and they're, I'll tell you, they threaten me with, they're sort of making these people a sort of yellow cab. They threaten me with people who try, molars, basements, apartments, homes, boats, people with houses at Eastlake, people with boats. It's called right behind it's right before this building, and then you cross what used to be it's going to be a veterinarian, and you've got a bit more empty space on the bottom floor, and then you have this place, brown and yellow building, of course, on the left-hand side. There is a door that you enter. It's a security door, and you go through morons, just like cleaned up retailers right out the street. Helpful zombies. And they threaten me with the place. And that's across the street as well. You can see it when I'm out and I look over. There have been people, I think they're connected to me with the I have no. They're slave such as washing and ironing bees. Or cooking for the stinky, smelly, my paycheck and myself be raped. Oh, and giving my kidneys to the ugly, smelly filth. And they are using techniques while you're gone, not stick you with a needle, as your boyfriend, your husband, your children, your with 6 abused children that you have nothing to do with because they're half, or they're retarded, or they're both. Children, no, they have nothing. Will come and move something around in your apartment to be your loving daughter that you won't acknowledge, and then they'll have helpful and professional people aiding them. And eventually, you might even be repulsed somebody who's an approximation of you, maybe not even really that much of an approximation. They don't even have to have the same hair color. All they have an unscrupulous fake, and then maybe a social security card. They're in housing, and even if the housing costing a month or something, quite valuable to somebody who sleeps in a shopping cart, literally, the street, sleeping, or in a tent. Blood are very much involved in substitution, including a horrible soul that they've threatened to replace you. And by the way, that I mentioned, she's fully involved at the soul. Remember, she's another whore. She's a lamb, has sort of dark, lots of thick hair, semi-wavy. It's thick. She's not very attractive. She's about, looks 40s, but she wears these short skirts that make her look, and especially since she's gotten fat, huge thighs, huge butt, for such antics. And such a peril. Smeared lipstick outside the line. It doesn't detract from that fly. Craigslist, or sit in your house and the gamblers while she's scouring your house or personal tidbits, and looking for times that she has expected key, and then the conspiracy starts. Maybe she poisoned you, I don't know. They bragged for 13 years that they poisoned me, and indeed I can't leave anything to it. I will get sick. I heard a satanic ceremony, including people saying that they were demons. I did hear someone shriek hideously at one as well. I've heard that before. There, I was in nearby. The sound transferred well. The sound were trying to get in, to the building, and they would protect police again, or hunters, and I'd hear them all day long. And I wasn't on or at long in company of the pub, so I would hear quite a lot, after hours, especially because you don't have the huge, or just, I would hear them at the end of the stairs. The same moron who was complaining that I had told about all their plots. The market, I'll tell you, after hours parties, and I remember hearing, it was like a radio show, and so I think I had the shades nighttime here, like even, and here after a pleasant to have, people playing music till and here after hours, you can sense the mood, the participants, just by the way they sit. So it was like a radio show. Here's someone screaming. I didn't hear anything more, but I also heard ceremony and chanting that, we are, and then the word demons. After a whole security had some sort of bike and had a bike, and they were quite worshipful this bike, and play night, or it was more actually at the after hours security guards paranoid, and they were trying to on identity, and they work for the Pike Place Development Authority. By the way, here she's that brag that they've eaten his flesh. The thing that at our upper market, she called it Lisa's, and he's a being, just makes a lot of sense, rather than persons, places, or things, because obviously if you have a thing, anyway. So these bums like to call everything by the wrong name, and one of the bums now taught jewelry. He's this jewelry, that jewelry. I do know this name you to carry jewelry. It's a black non. Possibly the guy that has and one out in the 50s, and he likes to hang out in the janitor's room, and then within the next second or even 5 minutes, or whatever, they'll call themselves by religious, and others they just don't supply them with the drug treasure. So if it's somebody who could supply jewelry, they'll kill as many whites as possible. They're white. And of course, their hope is to obtain bigger and better treasures. So there is a Nazi. They think they're going to brothels. And there's usually a threat regarding marriage, and you usually and people by pretending or portraying that there is some man, white male, dark hair. He's very involved with prostitution turned under white He ever plots to take over Europe, terrorism, and obviously hiding money. And are these? He's on illegal surveillance, and full out, including bug maintenance, who live here. Involve people who are maintenance and inspectors, a bug inspection, or maybe there's a loud maintenance, and wow, janitor's area, boy, it's a lot of threats. And of course you're hearing vacuums very loudly in the background, and janitor's area. Certainly take advantage of that loud. There actually are such psychos, they would have had their abduction. Screamer apartment. Gilman Place apartment, you had Nicole Wilkes, Kathy Cox. Kathy Cox, she was a nurse's aide. Her mother was a nurse's aide. You had a cop or two. Then you had the moronic, she and her boyfriend people that they were to with scanners, and because a lot of people cordless phones, those are the ones that are on sale. Well, people can hear them quite adequately, I think. And I actually heard her and her boyfriend making time to a victim that they were listening to, and they pretended they were police, and the call back to the person. And a lot of those idiots in that neighborhood, they were police. And what do a lot of these people have in common, including from surveillance and hidden cams and other ventures? Deborah Lane, a lot of a month, nice month. This apartments like $600 or $700 a month, or gave away. Often find Crystal garbage can because she had all this to believe she was in all schemes and with Nicole Wilkes and the other morons. Just a group of who were their little government, including Samantha Brings, follows people and acted if they told on people. She was actually practicing out of scope. And certainly Kathy Cox, government conspiracy, sometimes even well, at that point they start making. There's a whore. Back now, there's quite a retarded. Actually woke up and the retarded weeks were using high. The reason why, because the retarded ugly bastards took the fall with Satan and disputes, and none of them have an aura or chakras or a spiritual sign. None of them have, and one of them's trying to consecrate what he's stolen. He's playing blah as he's going to food for the zombies out of me. Excuse me, I have to curse him. And don't worry, you. Try to eat me, it eats you. All parts of me is dated, and that's the way it should be. You should be messing around with souls. You're just retarded people. You're putrid puke. and he's going on and on. Propensity this, yeah. If you don't believe in the fact that they are retardedly fine because of the zombieism. It is the bad genetics of Americans, and it was absolutely right. And the retardation of the existing these inferiors of others were, like I say, they were absolutely before they fall with Satan and stealing, including stealing brains. These before Satan, 30, 40, 30 at least. And was a lot more perks toward challenged individuals and special, people with special needs, or even certain ethnicities were achieving favoritism than others. And this all was sort of a countdown to zero, really. An excellent way for Satan to find himself a foothold and to destroy the U.S. Then they were treated as a special interest group and cover up their mental illnesses and be placed in jobs of opportunity where they could further spread, many people you actually find all over America, Washington, much later gone. You still have the hideous camp that everyone is retarded, give up because they're all zombies kind of feeling. They're going to call everybody and pretend that I'm pro, pick me up. The bus drivers will play. Those bus drivers are retarded. And say, yeah, you've got some people at 105 there and such, and they're harassing me is because I wouldn't be in purses and backpacks, and I'm not going to backpacks or purses, or they're or dogs, or be a prostitute, buy their drugs. So I'm based target, and I have to tell people so I don't worry about it. I just know the fact. Call us at a time and say, oh yeah, some patients are stalking me. So if they tell you that you need to call the police or FBI because they're mental patients and they're in a gang and they're with these people, them from that. Because actually, when they took usual anomalies, some of it was replaced, with American trash, including back in history. So the trash, that you can probably hear in the back, and father seeing people mixing maybe a black guy on crack and or Irish from India, and then someone pretending that was pretending that was law, and other states and maybe Europeans or ones have also targeted. I mentioned it before. They would love to get rid of in the whole world and have they and their retarded ruling Europe and then on to ruling every planet, every universe. And by the way, if Zibru are listening, that's not very you're a blood zombie and you're not. But there are many instances that next town you have similar plots. They might even be connected to these people. Maybe in you have more plots. Maybe in Oregon, a guy thinks 105. Maybe in further down in California, who's a movie star, and they want 10,000 lives out of everybody. And one of the talk food or Irish, I think it was Irish people. And they're all, you don't have to believe in the paranormal, just consider them very dangerous spirits, sick and psych. They also like to play the words ironic. They tortured and tormented me, the Bloods have, and say this for 13 years. Asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivities, I have died probably, from the stress and I have arthritis issues. I guarantee that these also have no place, which a lot of it's from living in buildings where there's drugs and these people, and in fact, you get one, they'll be very like the sneaky feral that will sneak behind curves, and you get about 2 of them, 3, and more dangerous, and then they're not off the little group, and they also on top of other things wanted me to drink the toxic water in this place. Or started hooker doesn't have any authority to play a block you wonder. Well, she probably should, or maybe it's somebody's stolen record from their apartment, including mine. Maybe it's mixed, that kind of record, chanting Soviet. So you could actually have these people committed and arrested. They're Soviet, British. You just never know what country they're going to call them. It's countries call themselves threatened British people, black Nazi plots that's in Europe, British or European or Russian to call themselves. One of the bugs eventually went to have any gun, and all stores that these idiots don't have some sort of armory waiting to go. Threat repeated. There's someone saying hello. There's people located. It's contrivance for keeping out morons, satanic, psychotic morons. There is no relationship with them. There never has been. And they like to, these Bloods actually like to also. So anyway, I was interrupted. It went to not broadcasting. These heavy, stiff bike locks would actually be broken here by the ugly fat man. He's white. By the way, and one of them's chanting that they're FBI. They're not FBI. They're pants pooping morons that they don't even use toilet paper here. They stink. They're retarded. So anyway, this retarded male, he would brag about his housebreaking ability, and sure enough, there'd be the breach in the lock. It would either be broken, or you could tell somebody had been in the suitcase. Oh, I just noticed the moon. By the way, around the full moon and around certain other events, including Sunday, these satanic bastards have had a special sort of magical significance to the sacrifice threats. And they actually use the word sacrifice, and they will threaten to sacrifice or maim me around the full moon or Sundays. Particular dates have been dangerous for me. It's been as dangerous as being a black cat. And Halloween was a big one. Christmas. So you've got this theme of like a Halloween cat. You've got the theme of, the profane celebrating Christmas. And oh, by the way, the zombies pretended I was Satan. So it makes things rather complicated for me. And the curses that they put on my favoritism countries, it seemed, because one of the bums that fell with countries that are my favorites, such as England, Scotland, and all those countries. They're referring to nation, sangue, blood. All of these monsters have a blood. It doesn't just cause damage to your etheric body. Note that it is just keeping certain things invisible. So it's like maybe your cut is just invisible to you. Maybe someone sucks your blood or something. These monsters have liked enlisting the aid of foul spirits, either that they've ruined or that were always foul. They absolutely love demons. They love fallen angels. They love recreating them when they're destroyed. They love keeping them going. They will be the first people, if Satan is really destroyed, they will create a Satan and give him powers to destroy people. And then that way they commit crimes and then blame it on Satan. Big conspiracy. They remember always that these people are liars and dishonest. And that is one of the traits of the zombies that fell with Satan 13 years ago, 12 years ago. 13, I'd like to say, because then I don't miss the date. The bum is referring to a time that I'm listening to. He's actually in an apartment above the smoking area and the windows are open. And he's talking about pushing it back. He's trying to influence time. He's talking about cannibals and drinking. Now, the cannibalism and the bloodlust is all over America. It's even in people who work at hospitals, and some of them are medical students, and they're also blood drinkers, and they have a craving for human flesh. So if they have eaten invisibles, to me it's equally important, because now, if you have people that eat the invisibles, let's say they like eating children, well, those children feel like we do. And they are as important as we are. And think of spirits, significant spirits such as God or Christ. Those are spirits. And because that person is dead, I don't mean God or Christ, but I mean like a child, it doesn't mean that they're unimportant. And, one of the bums is chanting Lucifer now. They're playing Lucifer now. And so they like to twist things and pretend that Lucifer is God, and they worship Lucifer. They're all psychopaths. And always I hear, like, I went through the U District on Friday. Was it Friday and part of Saturday? There were bums chanting Lucifer all over the place, and, do this for Lucifer and blah, blah, blah. I've heard it before, including, like, last weekend. I mean, these people
Some of them, if you believe in psi, I've seen their eyes, and the eyes of their animals that they ruined actually glow red. And it's not a film angle or like a film mistake. It's just their eyes actually glow red. They've worshipped demons. They promoted demons. They promoted fallens. You know, Lucifer was a fallen angel, and he always will be. He's not God. He's not going to reascend as God. I'm not going to let him. So these bums follow Satan, and their eyes are glowing. And there was a large noise. I don't think you could hear it. It actually was a motor noise, and it had to do with the bums blowing up my back chakra. Excuse me, I have to curse. They've also, as I've been talking, they've had spirits remove blood from me as I've been talking. And there was a large EN energy field. It looked like lightning, but slower in the apartment, like a transport mechanism, I believe. And one of the bums just blew out my back, and he's a Satanist, and Satan taught these retardos to talk in a sort of satanic hypnotic voice. It's a chanting. You could hear it when you can hear it like a part of them. It's almost like some of them have, it's almost, you can hear music like a spell. That it's one of the effects they've used, but you can also hear a hypnotic tone to their voice that's insistent, and they actually try to envelop your brain with this insistence, and they're trying to overcome your will. But you'll also hear, once you hear the sigh, which I'm not impressed by, that most of these bums have one of 20 personality types, including the females. And so some of them sound like retarded animals, like a retarded bear cartoon. This retarded moron that I'm listening to, he was talking, but you could also hear this, hear his thought. Like he was trying to hypnotize as well, and infringe his will upon mine, which doesn't work. And he said something to the effect, when he attacked my back and took out blood, he played something like qualified or chosen or something retarded. And yes, there have been spirits in here. I can't see them all. That's the bums could see and feel the invisible. That's why they're very evil, you know, that they've eaten people, because it's just they've been able to see and feel as well as physical beings seeing and feeling each other. So their sin is quite great. If you can imagine, like the pigs here in this building, I've heard them chewing on people, and, you know, maybe, oh, how am I going to save them? I can't see them, and they're behind a wall. And so some of the fat pigs, or one of the other retards, like Stephanie, she's a smelly prostitute. She's about 5'7", 6", and she's getting pear-shaped lately. She has brown hair. She's dyed it red. And she and the others, including the fat pig with a big head that's white, and the other ones, like the black Nazis, they'll talk about nourishment and protein, and it's very repulsive. And also realize that they're not hungry, and even if they were hungry, there's no excuse. and realized that the food banks are actually 3 miles away. There's usually, or less, actually less, but there are food banks. There are food banks within every 3 miles, and there are many feeding programs. And then on top of it, this place feeds the bastards usually on Monday through Friday. It feeds them twice a week. One of the bastards is going on yapping, 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 and it feeds them twice a day, not twice a week, twice a day on the weekdays, Monday through Friday. And then sometimes there are leftovers. What they've been doing is calling people at around 9 to come down for leftovers, like a couple hours after the dinner. And then then during Saturdays, there's about one meal available, but that's still a meal. And sometimes there are quite a few leftovers, so people really end up with, eating 2 meals if taking one away. And then they call them to come down for leftovers with one of those meals, one or both meals on the weekends. And they also take them shopping, and they also take them to food banks. There's a regular trip to the food bank here. And like I said, there are food banks every 3 miles, and I think the closest food bank is not even a mile. There might actually, and then I've seen some sort of feeding place down the road. And so there's plenty of food for these dirty bastards, but they like to try to justify everything. Heard the bastards chase a gallon and leader. You heard them such things as us, and you're going to go to the blood up, drink this, drink that. One of the traits I noticed was all whites where I was. Mostly when I went out, I wasn't seeing a lot of black people, but they looked like pigs. And it wasn't just whites, but I just remember whites because that's what I saw. And I can remember them even making this sort of smelling motion with their nose, sniffing motion, and it looked like they were trying to sniff out food. They were just pretty repulsive, but I think that someone tried to get rid of that. I also, when I woke up 13 years ago, I could smell zombie death chemicals on everybody. So it wasn't just druggies doing embalming chemicals. It was an embalmed smell, and it was quite creepy, to know that one is more alive than the others and to smell the death chemicals. Now, the thing is, you don't want these people freshened up. You don't want them living. You actually want them to die physical death, so you need to let them go. They are zombies, and they died 13 years ago, and you need to let them go. And I think they just said something about Europe or something. And they like to also, they're so psychotic. One of the things they've told me is that that I died 2 years ago and they cut me up. What are they trying with that one? Well, with that one, they are trying to go back and forth in time in some cases, but there's also a very non-legal footage of their victim, and blackmail or coerce or bribe into letting them video they perceive as prey. And so let have a prostitute, which they do, Athel LaSalle, and then she's got teeny little British brown eyes, but her off, and she has teeny little eyes and significant. Well, what they would do is perhaps me and maybe no, I'm of me eating dinner. She's fine. they have thoughts I can't tell you. So the gang members, the past as present as, oh, he's fine. He's in fishing. He's just fine. See, he's for the last 30 years or so. They're very different. Clear now. Have over 30 members are power widespread. You will do this. You will blah 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 blah. And he just took chakra. Morons actually dangerous. You can actually turn it on them because sometimes they are chanting as you or me or whomever, and they're using our intent like an open, I call it an open channel of intent, especially if they have like, oh, your handprint. It's just like those movies. If someone has your handprint and then they, open the door with it. Well, they'd love to have our hands and our other parts. And then that way they've got that channel of intent, like, oh, that's Joe, Joe Edmondson. Well, he had a house. Well, see, it's Joe. I've got his hand. And then maybe you have this feeling that it's Joe. Well, that leads me to another subject. When there was this fall with Satan, I realized these bums, I didn't quite know what they were. I knew it was demonic. They weren't all demons. A lot of them were sickening, disturbed humans, and when a bum's chanting that I owe him money that I don't owe, he's just a dirty, retarded, stinky bum in low income. And he just took head, by the way. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. He's just a dirty, retarded, that person enslaved through their eye. So it's not just a physical and it's not just a spiritual, but I'll tell you what, because they've seen the invisible as well as they've seen visible or felt it, they're exceedingly dangerous bums to the visible. So if you don't believe in the invisible, if you don't care about them, you're still in danger with these violent people because they utterly believe that or you can say they believe they've seen the invisible or felt it as strongly as they could see you and I. And so they keep it in their wallet, just like you've heard about people practicing voodoo or Santeria. That's all it is. Pale, but it could also be someone who's other. So, drop a lot of your preconceptions about what's going on. Under other people's names, and they often practice something that sounds like it's American. A lot of these bloods, and there's not because so drop your preconception. It's because they're crazy. They're in on circumcision. They've threatened me, other, and nothing to do with money. And by the way, you can blame a lot of these bums for the world going crazy. Who? Blame the Bloods and other morons. And they are in communication with people all over the world because they tore down as many people to fall with Satan, and they wanted people to fall with Satan. I think the bum is playing, he's talking about Christ right now. He has nothing to do with Christ. He's a dirty, filthy bum. And let me tell you, America is done, and Christ would want nothing to do with these bastards, and God would want nothing to do with these bastards either that are Bloods, and they're in on, eating people and tell you why. Well, first of all, some of them brag that they've killed God, tortured God, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, they should be off the, what I would call the God channel. Also, remember stories of Noah's Ark? Remember Lot's wife? God, energies they shouldn't have gotten a hold of. It's as if all those evil, hideous people obtained power. Was our time of Lot's wife turning into a pillar of health? God was done. There, and she's chanting about spending money on you. So that's one of the favorite tricks of the bums. They pretend that they owe you. I mean, i.e., portraying that I'm the devil. I'm not. Oh, and a horse. Excuse me, I have to curse her for that one. Now, what else is another trait of the Satanist zombie? Well, nothing they tell you is true. He's one of the biggest liars. He's one of the biggest deceiver. These morons follow a path. They were also schooled by ex-military. They were also schooled by dirty core that had left being a policeman, perhaps dirty afterward. See, hypnosis. They've also, when I tell you that my chakras are missing, excuse me, I have to curse them. And they just took head. Why would they take head? Well, they're not over 80 IQ. And actually, I've heard all of them in mass pretty much around me chanting about how they suddenly got head when they start stealing head. They absolutely don't really have a separate existence. Would you like to know what they look like? They look like gremlins underneath that are fed after midnight. You know, when they turn into the horrific looking icky guys with the teeth. They look somewhat like that. They don't have a spirit. They don't have a soul. They don't have chakras. They don't have an aura. They just took back. Sometimes they've taken my chakra many times, and then they've said things like, oh, we're going to make you ugly or sick with your chakras. And the bum is chanting sometimes them as Americans or any blew up chakra. And they're, get there. Remember, he has, and he just took head crystal, and all he has is an ugly to inflict on people. He is a parasite. So it's a mechanism, and it's very even the skull zombie is third, and also taken people, and their discovery dollars divinity don't know. And so there are no individuals. And I will tell you that the fall in has nothing to do with millions. Let's say it'll be tax, and then suddenly they're producing somebody in the spirit world. So that energy has actually come from my chakras, but from a God force that intended me to fight. When there was a fall, I was being poisoned, and below me were in Canada, and there was an adjacent apartment that had with the property. It wasn't the same property. Waged, and there were some bloods involved. And like I would go to drink, and it would taste like turpentine. I would take a shower, or like sort of a shaking orgasm, and I didn't talk to the man. I lost an entire morning because I knew that we'd fallen with bombs, and I know how many people were involved. And then these bombs perversely attack to being, quote, adorable is usually somebody, let's say it's an animal, it's been guaranteed to have been tortured. One of the bombs is using some sort of trigger word. He's just grabbed, ovary has been grabbed, and also back. And does he have his own talents or abilities? So basically, when people die or something happens to them in the US, they're not really anyone to mourn for anymore. That was gone 13 years ago. One of the bums is saying, you're going to a trailer. Actually, bitch, you're going to fuck off, and you're not going to tell me what to do, you ugly fucker. You're an ugly bitch, and you're not going to tell me what the hell to do, bitch. You're an ugly, grotesque zombie. You stink. You're gross. You're nothing. I think that one of the yapping dogs at least was a black Nazi. And the other yapping dog, there might be two black Nazis yapping. But, just keep in mind they're all colors of yapping retardos in this building that think they're going to control people. So when people like this die in the US, you need to lose all the sympathies you've ever had. There are no longer any normal people in especially the social services or just out in the public. And by the way, as I'm talking, there's been a spirit that's been attacking me. There are no people in the US. It's a zombie scum mechanism. You don't even know who's in their body. You don't even know who was taken out. There were people that were invisible, that were absolutely also pulled out of their bodies 13 years ago when people took the fall with Satan. And the retardos are talking about vacuuming. I'm going to look out and see which retardo. And she's absolutely too psychotic to even volunteer at Mary's place. And she'd scream at people that asked her for even a cup of coffee or some, that was her job. So cleaning up the coffee area. I see a retardo, one retardo. The other retardos are in the room. The males are in the room. The retardo that's too psychotic to volunteer, she's out in the smoking area. And I do not take orders from a psychotic black Nazi or any other crap, and nor shall I ever. You can go to hell. And he's talking about a razor or a racer. So the ugly bitch is threatening to razor people. So don't worry, I will tell the city that you and your friends are threatening to razor attacks at 10507 Aurora Avenue North, Seattle, Washington, 9133. There's also, and then the bitch insisting I owe money. Do I
money? No. Does he have to do it with money? No. He's a foul retard. He has no money. The only money he's gotten to have people murdered, raped, anything to do with money. He's not working. He's nothing. He's not even a man. It's pretty funny. And so I think I'm going to call the city and tell them about the razoring thread so that they know. And